great start. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel in this video. So today we're going to start a reading vlog of serial killer romances. Don't even ask me why. Well, actually do ask me why. The reason why I did this was because I read the first book in this series. I'll put it up on the screen because I'm about to talk about it in a second. And I really liked it. And I thought, do you know what? Okay, that's interesting. And then at the same time, Love and the Time of Serial Killers was floating around the place. And I thought, okay, well, why not? It seemed like a match made in heaven for a reading vlog. So yes, sorry to spoil it, but those are the books I'm going to be reading. So I'm going to be reading Love in the Time of Serial Killers, which I think is about this woman who loves true crime and stuff, and she's in her house and she thinks that her next door neighbour is a serial killer. I think it's a romance, and so I think she falls in love with him. I'm not sure, but basically she thinks her next door neighbour is a serial killer. That's what happens when we listen to too much true crime, girlies. We start seeing monsters everywhere. Are there monsters everywhere? Yes. Is that the point? No. Anyway. So then the other book is Psycho, which really does say, yeah, your next door neighbour might be a murderer. It follows this guy who's kind of like a billionaire. I don't want to say he's a billionaire, but he's very, 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 very rich man. And he's like, used to be a psychologist or something like that. And so he decided to do this experiment where he picked out like 5 kids who'd been through like trauma and was showing psychopathic traits, like they were going to be psychopaths, and he adopted them, and then he's been training them, kind of like Dexter, to be serial killers and to kill only bad people. So like good serial killers, like good. They only kill bad people who like the justice system hasn't like cottoned on to, or the justice system, like, do you know what I mean, has failed, right? And each of these books follows one of the brothers with their love interest, and this follows the second one. I'm not sure, I didn't really look into it, see too much about which brother, what's the scenario. I just know that that's the plot. And also, while I'm here, I thought let's have some accountability for all of us and for all of the people who like this trope, including me. I found this on Instagram and I thought it's clearly not me, there's clearly an audience of people who like serial killer romances, and so I figured come along and you'll see me read these, and you know what I mean. But also, as I said, sorry, I kind of got sidetracked. To keep us accountable, I also am reading this book which is like talking to serial killers, but it's the wives and the girlfriends. So these are the people who are like, okay, you're talking about serial killer romances, but this is real life, and I am the person who was the wife and the girlfriends. I don't want to call them wags because that kind of trivializes them, but the wags of serial killers without any trivialization, if you know what I mean, right? And so I feel like, will that bring down the mood a bit? But I do feel like it's important for me. I won't say us. I won't drag you down with me. But I do feel like it's important to recognize that, okay, this is fiction, but in real life, like, let's be smart, girlies, because I'm sure these wives and girlfriends are going to tell us that it was hell. You know? Anyway, so those are the 3 books that I'm planning to read for this vlog. Okay? We all excited? I'm excited. Now, I'm kind of a bit like, only 3 books? That's because they're romances and they're going to be kind of quite easy to fly through. You know what I mean? Apart from the non-fiction. So we'll see. I might end up reading extra books for this. We might not. Should we do market research? Sorry, I don't know why I'm in a mood, but clearly I'm in a mood. Let's do some market research and see what YouTube is saying about serial killer romances. Let's see what TikTok is saying about serial killer romances. Let's just see what the girlies have to say. I'm eating. But I just searched up serial killer romances on YouTube, and I'm seeing a few here. Okay, so I'm seeing like mafia, and I have always liked a mafia read, but that's not in this vlog. I suppose we can make another one in the future about mafias, but right now this is just about serial killers. So we've got Peace Love Books, which she always comes in clutch with the recommendations. Let me look at Tamika's library because I haven't heard of her before. Let's see what she's got to say. She does a whole taboo book club. So am I part of the taboo crowd now? I don't know why I'm acting like I haven't read a serial killer romance before. I just can't remember, but I'm sure I have. But anyway, let me watch Tamika's video and then I'll tell you what she says. Definitely go and check out her account. She seems very interesting. I'm sure this is gonna be a great video. Okay, firstly, what I saw from her video was that it's actually a book club series with recommendations. But the book that we're reading was the Mindfuck series, and I've already read the Mindfuck series, and I really enjoyed the Mindfuck series. I don't know why I enjoy saying it. I mean, come on, Kimmy. Yeah, I've already read that, which kind of makes me sad. Because if I hadn't, that would have been perfect for this vlog, but I've already read it. But let's just go to TikTok now. Oh, I forget the format of TikTok is different. So immediately, this isn't like recommendations. I'm seeing text. And then the book rec I see is for Love in the Time of Serial Killers. So should we see what she says?
Absolute delight to read. It's one of those romances that has so much heart and... yes, all the fluff you could want, but it also talks about some more serious things. So this is dealing with grief, it's dealing with an absent parent, it's dealing with a little obsession with serial killers, and also plus-size representation, which I really like. So this was just a ton of fun, some very funny lines, incredibly heartfelt and heartwarming, and an absolute delight to read. So if you
that was a lovely video. I'm gonna have to go and follow this woman. But also, the reason why I was screwing my face isn't because of her. I'm so sorry. But the reason why it was because the music is just the complete opposite of this vlog. This vlog is serial killer romances, right? I was expecting a bit more grungy music, but instead we got Here Comes the Sun, dee 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 dee, which immediately my brain immediately goes to The Parent Trap. So I'm like, this is the opposite vibes, but as you can see, I love that song, so I was vibing. Sorry, let me go away. Sorry guys, I've got to go away and do my research because this is too exciting. I'm gonna find some more books. I've officially decided I'm gonna pick one book from YouTube, one book from TikTok, and I really should go to Instagram as well, but I don't know if I can. We'll see. I'll do my market research and then I'll see, but one from each of them, I think. Okay, I'm back. I've done my, I want to say mini market research, but I did spend a little bit of time on it. And what have I decided? I've decided to calm the heck down, okay? I really got lost in the source for a minute. I was like, I was getting too excited, but I've calmed down a bit now, and here's what I've decided. So I've decided to do, what's it called? Hold on. Let me consult the notebook. I've decided to read There Are No Saints by Sophie Lark because the whole of social media was talking about this one. Like, when you type up serial killer romances, you're definitely going to see this one on whatever social media you go to. Like, it was prolific. It was everywhere. So I feel like we should do that because I'm already reading 3 books in this vlog, so I can't read that many. So that's 4 in this vlog. And so I've decided that, like, if this video does well, if you guys like it, if I decide that I like this trope, I'm then gonna do a part 2 to this video where I read 3 separate books, which was from the social media pics. Okay, so 1 from TikTok, 1 from Instagram, and 1 from YouTube from her video. Okay, I feel like that would be a good compromise. So that's 4 in this book, 4 in this vlog, and potentially 3 in another vlog. Okay, and they're all from Kindle Unlimited, which is nice. So if we have Kindle Unlimited, it will also be a Kindle Unlimited rep in the next vlog, if it ends up happening. So now we have 4 books, and let me stop rambling because, really and truthfully, this video was meant to start and I got sidetracked. I was doing research. I was lost, but I am found. I was lost, but I'm found. So yeah, let's just go. Let's get into this video. Let's get into the stabbings, and let's get into the sex. We're back in the same place that I was last time, but it's been a while. Like, I started it after midnight this morning, and it's now, is it after midnight? Yeah, so it's after midnight the next day. So about 24 hours, and I'm 24% of the way through. It's kind of, I love that circular way of life. Anyway, that's the point. I'm not loving it. Is it really easy to fly through? Yes. But I'm working and I just don't have time to read it right now, otherwise I would have been done with it. But at the same time, whilst it's easy to fly through, it's just not great. So basically, the premise of this is that it follows one of the serial killer brothers, August, and he's a genius. Okay, he's as in his IQ is 155. He's got multiple degrees. He's like kind of like Stephen Hawking's. You know what I mean? Like, he's that clever. He's that dude, right? But obviously, he's also a serial killer. So he's a professor and in his day life, right? And then there's this new criminology professor. They bump shoulders, and then he's like, and basically, this new criminology professor is clairvoyant. Like, he can see things, he can see visions. So when he bumps into August, he sees that he's a serial killer. Obviously, now August is like, he knows I'm a serial killer. I'm gonna have to do something about that. But then he's actually like, but rather than doing something about that, I kind of really like him. I kind of am obsessed with him. But the criminology professor is kind of like, hold on a minute, I've just been disgraced. I don't have time for this. But anyway, that's the plot of it. And I would just have to say it's so insta-lust. Like, I'm not saying that the other book wasn't insta-lust, but I feel like there was a little bit more substance. This was literally just like they just bumped into each other, and then one of them was like, you're a killer, but I don't care. And the other one was like, I'm gonna love you. I just don't, or fine, I'm obsessed with you. And I'm just like, the realism wasn't really feeling like that. It just didn't feel realistic, this one. Like, I know all of these aren't really that realistic, but like, it just feels like fake. It feels fake. It feels like fiction. In fact, it feels like a fan fiction of a serial killer romance. That's how I'm feeling right now. Like, I'm just like, really? Is this the best we could have done? Because I just feel like it's such a step down in terms of quality in comparison to the first one. Like, the first one was just so much better. So I am thinking, like, it's really kind of sad because I really thought this was going to be a good book and, like, it was going to be a good part of the vlog. And, like, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm enjoying it for what it is. But what it is isn't great. You understand? I don't know. I just don't think it's going to be more than a 3-star, to be honest with you. If it is, I'll be shocked. I just think that it's kind of convenient how the criminal professor, I don't know if I said that, he used to work in the FBI, right? And yeah, he was disgraced and all of that. All of his morals just kind of flew out of the window straight away because some serial killer was like, I find you interesting. That's literally what he says. And all his morals, where are they? Can't be seen. I don't know. We'll see. I'll crack on with it. As I said, I'm only 25% of the way through it. Another day, more work.
It's a thing that for you I would've put it all on hold. Now I'm playing in the sand till it turned to gold. Midas hands, but we all grow old. Can't have my soul, let my heart turn stone. Guess I gotta say it twice, it ain't my fault. Every little thing got a price, that's what I thought. That's what they taught. Yeah, I'ma take my chance till I drop. You know this ain't the time for the two of us. Ooh, I ain't got space to be thinking about growing older.
Before it gets stuck, let me talk to you. I've literally just got in from work. I finished the book last night. I say last night, but kind of early this morning if you want to talk about after midnight. But basically last night. And I just didn't love it. I'm really sad to say I just didn't love it. I think it was just slightly too unrealistic for me. Like, I suppose this whole thing, like the whole premise of this series is unrealistic, but it really just, it was too much. Funnily enough, you would think that the psychic and the clairvoyancy and all of that would be the clincher for me, but it wasn't. The clincher for me was the insta-lust. Like, literally, it took 7 seconds for me to get obsessed with you. I mean, I suppose that is kind of true for psychopaths. Because I'm trying to think, I really want to read this book called Confessions of a Sociopath, right? But it's really hard for me to get a hold of it in the UK because I'm gonna listen to it as an audiobook and like. But yes, and I remember she was saying like some guy like bumped into her, and then she obsessed and she was following him down the platform because he bumped into her, and she was like she was gonna kill him. Or she didn't know what she was gonna do. She didn't know if she was gonna kill him, but she knew that she was following him. So I guess it is, but it just doesn't feel realistic. I'm sorry. I think maybe it was all of the little elements that made it feel unrealistic. Like, if it was just that, then maybe. And if it was just if it was just that, but it's that plus the clairvoyancy, plus the this, plus the that, all of them in conjunction is too much. And she's ringing me again. So then I was like, oh, I kind of felt bad because I feel like it's giving this series a bad rep because I enjoyed the first one a lot. So then I picked up the third one, and the third one I'm enjoying a lot more. So the premise of this one is it kind of follows now like 2 different kind of killers. So one of the brothers who is a killer, but he's not very good at it and he doesn't enjoy it, right? But he does it because it's his job, like his family job. And, you know, he's the oldest brother. He just does it, but he doesn't have much enjoyment out of it, right? And then he runs into, I won't tell you how, because it's kind of fun to discover how they run into each other. And another killer. He's not a psychopath. He's a killer. If there's a distinction in your brain, allow the distinction, because that's what they're trying to get at in this book. So yeah, and I am enjoying that one a lot more. I mean, I will say I don't feel like it's new favourites. I'm really struggling to think if any of these... Yes, Mom? Pardon? Oh my god. We were expecting it, but I wasn't expecting it. Wow. Anyway, yeah. So I picked up the third one and I can't even think of what I'm saying now. Yeah, I don't think any of these books are like new favourites. I don't think any of these books are masterpieces. And I don't even think just this series. I think any serial killer romance for me, it's just not going to be something that I love. Because I did pick up the Sophie Lark book and this is really problematic. Like, I don't know if I can really enjoy it because I feel like there is a distinction. Books that I've read so far, like the psycho books, they are like, we're serial killers, but we're killing bad people. Like, there's a reason, you know? Whereas the Sophie Lark one, basically, let me give you the setup. It's basically this serial killer guy who's also an artist, and he's in a rivalry with another serial killer artist. Like, their day jobs as artists, but they're both serial killers, and that's kind of like, they've seen that in each other, and there's like a rivalry going on. And some girl gets caught in the middle, just by happenstance. She was just at one of the art galleries, and then one of them kidnaps her, tries to kill her, and somehow I feel like it's going to be a romance between the other one who didn't kidnap her and her. And I'm just like, it's much. Like, the guy is just, he's just a serial killer. He just kills people, and like, he's just unsympathetic. It's just like, I suppose it's more realistic in that sense, but I'm not that here for it. Like lie to me and tell me that you're doing it for a good reason. Like, I do understand that he's more sympathetic as a serial killer than the other serial killer, but really and truthfully, I'm like, you're both serial killers. Like, it's not really going for me. So yeah, so I'm 25, I think I'm like 23% into the Sophie Lark and not really having the best of times. I mean, and it's very graphic. I feel like the other one isn't as graphic. But anyway, I'd say that the Psycho series is a lot more steamy, like a lot of steamy scenes, and less gory, whereas the Sophie Lark book is a lot of gore, heavy on the gore, not as much steam yet. I mean, I know I'm only 20-something% of the way through, but let me tell you, in all 3 of the books, there was steamy scenes less than 20% of the way in. PSA, the Queen died.
Me and you, guess it's over. It was a rainbow, but was sinking, lost my hue. I might come running back when our hearts get.
Hiya guys, so basically, do I have a lot to tell you? So, I was gonna talk to you yesterday, but I didn't. And the reason why was because yesterday I started talking with serial killers, and then I thought, gosh, that's a lot. I'm now in the middle of 3 books. Is it going to confuse you? But it might not have. Like, I don't know. That wasn't the main reason, because I did start, but I just didn't have enough storage. Anyway, that's besides the point. I'm here now to tell you what I've thought. So I started talking with serial killers. I got an hour and a half into it yesterday, and I had to say pause, because it was just too similar to the characterization of the serial killer / psychopath in the Sophie Lark book. And I was like, if I'm going to finish and enjoy or get some sort of enjoyment out of the Sophie Lark book, I can't be reading them in tandem. Do you know what I mean? It feels too similar to it. So I stopped it there, and then in the nighttime I finished the Sophie Lark book. What did I think of the Sophie Lark book, you ask me? I actually kind of, weirdly, because I wasn't enjoying it at the start, it was too almost realistic, which I suppose is a good thing for Sophie Clark. Like, she didn't lean into glamorizing serial killers. Like, you know, you realize that the man he is psychotic, and I don't know if it's just me, but everything in me was telling run. Okay, it wasn't like flirting with danger. It was like, babe, you are so close to getting killed, and if you don't get killed now, in the future you might end up dead. But it kind of like turns into a book about the kind of people that serial killers attract, and the person that he, do you know what I mean? It wasn't that clear cut. It was kind of like, what about her made her attracted to serial killers? Do you know what I mean? It was still a romance and stuff, but it did have kind of a cliffhanger ending as well. It wasn't like a contained story in one book, unlike the Psycho series, which is like one story in one book. This is kind of like a story across the series, which was kind of disappointing when I finished the first one, that I haven't really got the end of the story arc. I was satisfied in that clip, like it was a good place to end. It was a good ending, but I still have to read the rest of the series to get the full story arc, and I don't know if I'm that committed in finding out the full story to read every book in it. But yeah, I did enjoy it. Like, it was interesting. I have to say that throughout, she intersperses songs and she has a playlist linked, and that was so genius. It was amazing. Like, there's one scene in it where there was just music, and she was like playing on repeat in the book, and I was listening to it on repeat in more life, and it was impactful. Like, it was just so good. Like, the use of the songs in it really did amplify it, and I thought that her writing was actually really good. And I have to say that I am impressed by Sophia. Like, this wasn't necessarily my story. I wouldn't even really call it a romance. I would more call it like a suspense, because I wasn't like rooting for this couple or anything, but it was interesting to read this story of them. You know, it wasn't very sexy. Like, there wasn't a lot of sex scenes and stuff like that, and even there was like one, and I don't even know if you can call that a sex scene. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, it was, but it was just, it wasn't like a steamy, oh, do you know what I mean? It was like, it was almost like a display of power dynamics and talking about trauma in it, and it was just like a big crescendo of a lot of things that were going on in the book, like characters coming to realizations about themselves, about the other person, through the medium of sex. But I wouldn't even call it a sex scene. Like, it wasn't like a regular romance. I can see why people love it. I can't really see why people would love the romance aspect. Like, I enjoyed the book, but at the same time, I'm not shipping the romance. So I struggle to see how people would ship the romance, and that's why I think I'm gonna have to go to TikTok or Instagram and see what people say. I am doing more market research, I know. I don't know if I articulate it that well. I just think that with these characters, I'm interested in their psychology. I'm interested in the story. I'm interested in Sophie Lark as an author, but and I'm even like interested in their romance, but like, it's not, I don't know, it's not like a, oh, I ship these two so hard, like these two are gonna be amazing together kind of romance. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I find it hard to describe. Like, even the books in the Psycho series, I really need to find out what that series is called. But even the books in that, like, I kind of leave it like, oh my gosh, like, what a cute ship. Do you know what I mean? Whereas with this, I'm like, this is not a cute ship. Am I having a good time? Yes. Like, I will say that I respect the craft of this serial killer romance. And I think actually, maybe it's better, if we want to talk about it, like, maybe it's better to talk about and not shy away from the negative, obviously the negative aspects. Am I dumb? Like, do you know what I mean? It doesn't shy away from the fact that these people are serial killers, whereas in Psycho it kind of like glosses over that and kind of makes it more sunshine and rainbows, and oh yeah, they kill people, but they only kill bad people. Like, they're just good people at heart. Like, do you know what I mean? It kind of sweetens and adds sunshine and rainbows and, you know, goody stuff all around it, and I really enjoy it for that fact. But this book, I also think I admire it more because it doesn't. It says this is the horrible reality, that this guy literally stalks her. Like, it doesn't. I just love it. It had a lot of scenes in it that reminded me of You in that way, because obviously serial killer meets serial killer. Like, Joe, he kind of reminds me of Joe in certain parts, and like, just, it was just really good. Anyway, and also I like how it had the contrast of the different types of serial killers in this book and different types of psychopathy. Sophie Lark was really good in this book. Anyway, so I finished that and I enjoyed it. Boy, do I have updates for you. But before I do, I figure we might as well intersperse this. I don't know. It's been a long day with a shopping that I just did. Random shopping. Nothing bookish. But anyway. I got ginger chai tea because I love chai. Peach green tea. Some more fairy lights. Vanilla bean pumpkin syrup. Skinny, 0 calories, 0 sugar. This purifying mist. Witch's mug. And I just think it's really cute. I got this limoncello and sunshine and limoncello booty candle. It's this bra and pants set. Cute. And I got my dad some socks, some Monday to Sunday socks. Yeah, okay, so let me now tell you about what I thought of sleeping with serial killers. Now, this guy, he's very much prevalent in the community of criminology in the UK, I think. I'm not sure about what he is worldwide. I say this guy, I mean the author, because he's got like talking with serial killers, and he's got loads of different books under that heading. Like, he's got talking to female serial killers. I know he's got like talking to like the cannibals, I think it is. He's got like lots of different ones, and so this is his one with talking with serial killers, sleeping with psychopaths, and I just didn't love it. I think that, number one, it didn't go enough into the psyche of the people he was sleeping with serial killers. Like, I understand that it was different case by case basis, but as a criminologist, I was expecting more than just an account of these people, which I don't know, maybe that was me, but like I was hoping he would go into like why people might seek out serial killers, like once they're already in jail and stuff. Like, I was hoping he'd go into that, if that makes sense. Like, he would be like, okay, so, you know, maybe they've been neglected. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? That's what I wanted. Or also to talk about how psychologically manipulative these serial killers are, because I don't think he went into depth enough about how manipulative these serial killers can be. It felt like I could feel his bias. He was very, like, he had his opinions, and that's fine. Obviously, we all have our opinions. I have my own opinions too. Like, but I feel like he was voicing his opinions on serial killers too much. And I know you're kind of like, how can you voice your opinion on like serial killers are bad too much? But it kind of made it feel biased, and I was like, so how much of this accounting of the women is fact-based and how much is it colored by his own opinion? Like, because he was very judgmental, and that's fine, like towards the serial killers and stuff, that's fine, but it does just makes you aware of the author as they're writing it, as opposed to an unbiased account or an unbiased look at these people, if that makes sense. So that was that thing. Also, I hated how often he referred to his own books and his own projects in this book. Like, maybe once, fine, I get it, but he just kept referring to his other works, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, I feel like each book should stand on its own. I shouldn't have to keep hearing about, oh yeah, well, you can hear more about this serial killer in this other book. No, like, he does do recaps and stuff, but I just find it highly irritating when books do that, when they just keep referring to other other things. So that was that. But overall, it was decent. I just don't know if it's going to stick with me also. I feel like it was going over my head. I did read it in a day, so maybe that was my own fault. Maybe I needed to slow down and take it in more, but it did just kind of, none of it really stuck that much for me anyway. Maybe for others it'll be different. I don't really listen to true crime, so there was a lot more serial killers that I didn't know of, and it was interesting to talk about like their partners and how many partners they've had. And I just kind of think it's really just kind of sad, really and truthfully. Like, you, as much as you think you might know someone, you don't. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. But and overall, I would say it was a decent non-fiction, but like, I wouldn't recommend it really. I feel like there's probably better books out there. Sorry, I mean, I'm not sure, I haven't read this topic, but I feel like there might be. And I don't know, it was just the way he was talking about certain things. I do think it was his bias that really switched this from being okay or good read to me not really having the best of times. Because like, there was this woman who almost slept with one of the serial killers, and he was just so judgmental. He was like, oh yeah, you can profit off of being with a serial killer. That's what you get, saying like, oh yeah, you can profit off of, let's look at some of the people who profited off of being with a serial killer. And I'm like, they have a right to tell their story, number one. Number two, people like you are interested in their story, and I don't know why you're by saying they're profiting off of it, doesn't mean that they probably, just because it happened, like, either way it's happened to them, right? I just feel like, who are we to tell them what to do with their own story? Like, you, just because they've released books and they've made money or stuff off of it, doesn't mean that they would have rather never met the person. It doesn't mean that they don't have trauma. Do you know what I mean? I just think the way he kept saying, oh yeah, maybe you can profit off of being with this, like, let's look at the people who profited off of being a serial killer, including what's her name, Anna, someone who was, he was like a colleague with Ted Bundy, right? And he was like, yeah, well, you know, she made her money later on by writing this book on so and so and so. And I'm like, yeah, does that not mean that, like, and I know she's slightly different, but it was just the way he's like, yeah, and she made money off of it. And mind your own, it was just too much for me. So I do think that was my main issue. I don't know, to be honest, I said that there's probably better books. I don't know. I haven't heard, but I'm not really in the true crime genre. Like, I do read quite a few non-fiction, but I'm not really in the true crime non-fiction era. So I'm assuming there are other books, and I think I would rather read them because this man was just all over it. So yeah, so that means I'm pretty much down the majority of the books that I said I was going to read. I still have to read Love in the Time of Serial Killers, and that's what I'm going to start reading next. I did start next book in the Psycho series, which I think is called Necessary Evils, and I am enjoying it, except the setting up a future plotline, which is just messy. This future plotline is messy, and I'm coming to terms with it. Like, I'm fine, but I just think I need to realise that I'm a sort of person who, maybe I like things cookie cutter, clean and easy. I don't, but it just takes me a while to wrap my head around messiness. So that's why I haven't, like, read it all in one sitting like I have with the others. But yeah, so I'll give you my quick thoughts on that at another date. I feel like I read this in the perfect order. I read the easiest, most easily digestible to anyone. Like, doesn't matter what you think of serial killers and stuff. I think The Necessary Evils is the best, is like the easiest entry to serial killer romances. So I think I'm glad I read that one first. And then I read the Sophie Lark book, right, which was just a bit heavier, and like, okay, now you're really in the serial killer romance. Like, we're gonna get you into it, and we're gonna look at the psychologies in this book as well. Like, do you know what I mean? So then we have the non-fiction, which further dives into the actual darkness of being with a serial killer. And then with Love in the Time of Serial Killers, we're going to look at the response he might have to now having this information of the true crime book. Like, because she loves true crimes, she would have read a book that I've just read, and so now we're looking like, but when we get into the real world, how are we acting? So I think that's a great way to read it, and the connections from it all. But yeah,
when the stars line up, that's that. I've been attached, just looking out. We move so fast, was moving south. My secret sauce, boo, in and out. Miss how you gloss that pretty mouth. You know this ain't the time for the two of us. Ooh, I ain't got space to be thinking about you.
Gloss that, love it when you toss it back, love it when you talk back. Girl, you get me off track, so off-white tracksuit, just so I can floss, yeah. With my new bitty, she ain't let my off yet.
Hi guys, I have not been well, so it's been a couple of days. This vlog has taken me longer than I wanted it to, but it's okay. What can I say? I've started in the Time of Serial Killers yesterday, and to be honest, I'll be done by today. Which is why I need to catch up and talk to you now. I can say I'm enjoying it. I'm not loving it. Might be due to my mental state though. But it's just not a love right now. I think that the main character and their love interests are just too passive for me. I do like main characters who have a little bit more agency. Okay, so I don't know if I've explained. Basically, the premise of this is that it's about this woman who, her dad has died, and so she's gone back to her old town. She hasn't been spoken to her dad since she was like 15, right? But she's gone back to her old town where her brother lives, and she's moved into her dad's house for a month to fix it up. But basically, she suspects the neighbour of being a serial killer, and it's their romance. But what I do really like is that they didn't scrimp on the serial killer stuff. Like, sometimes with these premises in romance books, it's like there's a little sprinkle of it, but it's not really embedded in it, whereas this book definitely is all about the serial killers. She is she's studying to do her doctorate, and it's on true crime. So, you know, and it's just all of the references to true crime throughout. I am really enjoying it. I'm personally not a true crime person, but I can imagine if you were, it would feel even more like, you know. I will say that I'm so glad that I read the Talking to Serial Killers, People Sleeping with the Serial Killers book before this, because I do think it helps add to my enjoyment of this book. As much as I'm saying they're very passive, I do think that they're great characters. I just think they're not my kind of characters. And also, I would have to say that this one has a lot of depth in terms of the characters. Like, they're clearly walking around with baggage, which is kind of interesting to think about. And it's just talking about how everyday people can relate to the stories of serial killers. That sounds a bit dodgy. What I mean is that, so she's reading a book about who discovers that her father is a serial killer, and she's just looking at the parallels of that girl's relationship with her dad, and hers, because her dad was very, I'm gonna say abusive. Like, they don't say that term, but basically abusive, not physically towards her, but it was just a very tense, struggled upbringing for her. And so it goes into that, and how, you know, she can draw similarities from true crime. And I think that there is going to be an overall ending message about why people enjoy true crime or talking about serial killers so much, which does feel very apt. And it's kind of funny that I'm finding more commentary on serial killers and true crime and stuff like that in this romance than I did from the non-fiction, which is kind of interesting. I do also like the sibling relationship. That is a big factor in this book, and I love when books have focus on sibling relationships, because, like, I don't know, it's just interesting. And funnily enough, it seems that, like, with this topic of serial killers, family is a big element of it, family and romantic partners. And I guess it's because with serial killers and stuff and friends, I suppose you don't have to choose to be friends with them. It's a bit of a different relationship, whereas like family, it's just interesting to be related. I think it just captures you. It's more interesting to be related to serial killers, and I don't know why, but family has been a big plot line in these serial killer books across all of the different genres, which is just so interesting to me. I think another reason why I'm not really enjoying it is because they're both too shy. And so miscommunication is a trope that is kind of teased with. Like, it's not full miscommunication as of yet, but just throughout, like, they just don't talk, they just don't communicate. And I'm just like, she's a lot better than he is, but I'm just like, it's just really jars me. Like, why add extra complications? Just chat to each other. It's not that serious. So I think that might be another reason why I'm just slightly not in love with it. And I think that if you are another person who also finds miscommunication annoying, then you might find this thing. I won't say that it is miscommunication, and I do have to applaud them for like working their way through it, but I'm still a bit like, why do you have to work your way through it? It's just annoying. Like, I understand you're both shy and stuff like that, and maybe I don't fully understand it, and I know I'm not even the best at communicating in real life necessarily, but in these certain situations, it's just like, please just talk it out, because you've just given yourself angst and stuff like that. And I don't know, I just find it annoying to read about. Okay, I've now finished Loving the Time of Serial Killers, and I don't feel like I have anything new to say that I didn't say partway through. Like, I enjoyed it, wasn't stand out for me, and yeah, so that's it. That's all I have to say until I come back for the end of this vlog. And yeah, sad times really. Okay, so I'm back for a wrap up of this vlog and kind of my final thoughts. I don't know, did I ever tell you about what I thought of book 3 of the Necessarily Evils book? Book 3, I have to say, overall I ended up enjoying it. I mean, I guess I can't say that I enjoyed it that much, because it literally took me an age to read, but that wasn't just circumstances of the book, that was life circumstances too. But I did enjoy it, right? I think that a plot point was introduced in it that has made me slightly uncomfy. Like, it does. I'm not very good with this trope that they're alluding to, and I think it's gonna be like the last book of this series, but they've brought it up now, and I kind of wish that they had just waited until later on in the series, because that was the point where I had to stop for ages until I like got over it in my head, if that makes sense. Like, it's fine, and I was able to read past it, and I might even one day be able to read the book, but I just need to like slowly be able to convince myself it's fine. But yeah, so it was good. I enjoyed it. I mean, I don't think there's much else to say. In terms of the serial killerness, it kind of raises an interesting point about all of these boys have been raised being told that they're psychopaths, but like, are they actually psychopaths? Or have they just been conditioned to display traits of a psychopath around their family? Do you know what I mean? Because like, if you raise anybody, not anybody obviously, but if you raise people in a certain kind of way, you're gonna skew the results. Like, for a scientist, was he very scientific? No. So what have I read in this vlog? I've read Love in the Time of Serial Killers, the serial killer talking to psychopaths, sleeping with psychopaths, non-fiction. And I've read 2 Necessary Evil books, and I read the Sophie Lark book. So I read 5 books for this vlog in total. And what can I say? I will say the Talking with Serial Killer book was by far the worst of the bunch. Like, it just, I'm sorry to say, I just don't think it was good. The self-insertion from the author was just a lot. Like, it just didn't feel very objective, and that's what I go to when I want non-fiction. I want to hear about facts. I don't want to hear about your opinions, and I don't know, I just don't feel like I took away a lot from it. There wasn't enough into the psychology. That's what I wanted. I wanted to more hear about the psychology of it. Would I recommend? I would definitely recommend the Sophie Lark book, because I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. It's been with me since I've read it, and that's kind of unique. You know, a lot of books I kind of read and I'll enjoy them, but they kind of like just, but this has stayed with me, the Sophie Lark book, in a weird twist of fate, because I thought Love in the Time of Serial Killers was going to be the best, but I actually think it was the second worst. If I was ranking it, it would go the non-fiction, A Love in the Time of Serial Killers, then it would go the Necessary Evils book and books, both of them, and then it would go Sophie Lark. I hope you enjoyed this vlog about me deep diving into serial killer romances. Thank you guys for watching so much. Drop down in the comments like any other recommendations, or if you think that you would enjoy your part 2. I've had a good time, so I would definitely do it again. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys. Peace and love. Although, does it feel very, very peace and love with serial killers running about? Dunno.